So one of the few things which really triggered me, it was more like a feeling like, oh, this is interesting, this is something new. And my name is Boy Maas. I'm based in Amsterdam, or near Amsterdam. It's a little city called The Hague. And this is...
Parisa, I'm based in Milan. I do sales and partnerships.
The name of our team is JamZig. And the Zig language promises, let's say, a very efficient implementation of the JAM protocol. Because it has like very low level, and you have actually control. It's a little bit like the same level as C. And the C programming language. So that's why I chose Zig, because it has these unique characteristics that can actually make or create the fastest JAM client out there. My origin story from crypto is actually I started at around 2017-18. That was when the EOS token was launching, and I was doing like a small project on Ethereum. And EOS network promises that you had like very fast transactions, and you didn't even have to pay for transactions as an end user. And I really believed in that idea, so I started this company together with a lawyer firm and a security company to become one of the block producers of the EOS network. And that was in around 2018. That was called EOS Amsterdam, and it was a big success, right? Because it was, let's say, that was one of the biggest ICOs in the history of crypto, because they raised like $4 billion. But there was a delegated proof of stake game, right? And that was what I really loved about it, is because you take away the technology a little bit, right? And you make it kind of a socio-economical game, which actually can speed up like how fast blocks can be produced, right? And so that's also how they were able to actually have these massively fast transaction speeds. So that was really amazing to be able to launch that network. And so, I was actually with a friend, we went to Berlin, so Web3, and we were there. And suddenly I met Daniel, who was actually standing outside, and he said like, okay, I talked to him, hello, how are you doing? And he said, yeah, I'm working on a real cool project, right? It was new design by Gavin Wood. I said, okay. And then I remind, okay, I had so much fun on Ethereum, let's see what it is, right? So I started reading the gray paper. And let's say it's a very interesting experience, right? So first of all, the gray paper is something amazing, right? Because it's kind of the knowledge of Gavin Wood, let's say, transposed in a kind of a mini domain language. So you got all these symbols, like all these, let's say, Greek symbols, like phi, chi, pi, like lambda, iota, and everything, And in the beginning, it's really hard, because you're reading and you try to figure it out, right? But at a certain point, when you start implementing it, right, you actually start, if you see one of these formulas, for example, encoding, if I now read it, I can actually immediately understand what's happening. And that's actually amazing. So the gray paper is kind of, let's say, the formal definition, right, of the structure of the protocol. And within this, any language or any implementation can build its own variation, as slow, as fast, and as efficient, as they want, which is actually pretty cool. So one of the few things which really triggered me, it was more like a feeling like, oh, this is interesting, this is something new, but also the whole idea that, so you're working on something, nobody tells you when to work, what to do, how to do it. You have a formal definition. And let's say they're working on a toaster. That means actually like, you can put your program out there, you can test it against real network traffic, procedurally generated, right? So you can actually test your implementation, you can measure the speed, right? So this whole idea of freedom, which I love a lot, right? Encoding pure technology against a specification which is completely defined. That's kind of so nice to work at after doing 2 years of R&D, because then you need to figure out every little detail yourself. But now somebody did all the hard work for you, made a formula, and you just go and implement it, right? Which is, a very unique experience actually. I never had this before. Yeah.
I have a background of, let's say, traditional FinTech, let's say, like all the payment solutions, Visa, MasterCard, Alipay, like as a payment provider. I was doing years of sales, country management, and also like BDM for the global markets for a FinTech company, like one of the leaders in the world. The experience was that we were trying to have a blockchain or a cryptocurrency on board to enable it on the platform, and it was very tough because of AML regulation, because that was very tough because we needed to find out how to do the KYC and how to do all the process. So we did a lot of work, and unfortunately we couldn't do that because of AML regulations, and that was a big of disappointment. So that it helped me to get into the crypto world. I wanted to know more and I wanted to explore. I was very eager. Unfortunately, there was not a chance where I was working there because of all the regulations. So I moved more toward the cryptocurrency, started to work with him regarding to that, seeing how we can attract probably new partners, how we can attract probably investors, and how to sell it, because I'm not a developer, though I have a basic knowledge, but I'm not a developer. So my whole area is to see how we can get out of this world of all developers, all very knowledgeable and smart people, that they are creating a very secure platform, how we can actually find our positioning into the market. So we started to talk about it and see how we can get out of this zone and how we can introduce it to the world. And we are still trying to figure it out, but it is probably a bit of long road, but I see the future that it is there. It should be there.
Yeah, because JAM is of course a very generic solution, let's say, because now we're building it, probably for the Polkadot relay chain, but it can actually let's say run many different things. It's such a generic solution for having a scalable platform with services running on top of it, but be able to coordinate with each other, right? Because we got this refinement stage which actually allows coordination between all these different services, which is, we just don't know yet, let's say, who would be interested, in networks like this, right? Yeah.
But also talking about investors, for instance, we had an interesting conversation just before getting into the room. People are interested to know when it can be, let's say, boom of the market for Polkadot, so they can actually start to invest. So that's there are people out there curious and waiting for it to be, let's say, at the right point to start to investing. That's also potentials we need to consider and figure it out.
Yeah, on a fundamental level, let's say, okay, we got this network, we got this new technology, but how does it provide value to the people that matter, actually, right? So how do we make that translation? Yeah, we actually had a conversation with, let's say, a few big Ethereum people, actually, who started just, at the very beginning of Ethereum, and we're just sitting with them. And, the question was also, okay, so now we have this, so how does this provide value for us, the token holder? And, for example, when will this be released, right? So that's a very good question. So what does it offer, right? Let's say, well, on the technological level, the fundamental level it offers is scale. So you got now services, it's kind of 300 times. So you can actually have 300 times the performance of the existing network, right? Now, if you have this, then you have more bandwidth. Let's say it has all different kind of use cases, right? Because there's something revolutionary which maybe is not yet known, because yesterday evening we had a meeting that, for example, we can have long-running services, right? Let's say on the JAM chain. And so you can actually, which was not possible in Ethereum before, you make a loop because you had to pay, let's say, gas, so you had a limited time of execution. In this model, you can actually make a loop, right, which runs forever. Because the service will just suspend, right, and it will continue based on the time allocated to it, right? So you have many different use cases. It will lead actually probably to much more human action, much more people being active on the platform, and of course that will benefit the token value. More action, more need, more utility, more token value. That's actually one of the major benefits of the JAM network, because you got a set of validators, which is then probably 10,024, And they all actually, provide the financial security for any service that wants to run there. So if we could have like a little service, which we just want to run like a minute a month, right? If I run this in 28 days and I just keep that thing alive, right? Let's say, then the data will stay present and I pay that price for it, right? I inherit the security of the whole network. So even as a small team, you can actually, you build something and you can go to your people, who all depend on you for your security. You can say, listen, we're running here against the security of the whole network, which traditional roll-up, of course, cannot build, because let's say if I can make a roll-up with one little machine, one server running, it was just like doing some kind of, roll-up of zero-knowledge stuff against the Ethereum chain, but it will never provide that security, right? And let's say you cannot. So that's actually something really beneficial. But next to what I'm enthusiastic about is all the services can actually interact with each other. So I can build a service that is, for example, a DEX that can allow cross-chain swapping, right? Or even like multiple state changes, right? Which can be executed either atomically or not, right? And that's also kind of a problem which you have with the roll-ups, because there's no solution for it yet. Of course, you got IBC, but it's slow, blah, 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 but this is kind of built in. It's kind of built into the system. I believe that JAM is kind of, again, a step forward, right? It's just a science. So we first thought, like, the whole world was a billiard game with all kind of little things, and then we have quantum mechanics, and we got relativity theory, Let's say we keep on evolving, right? Of course, right? But I think like JAM is kind of the accumulation of knowledge, right? Of Gavin Wood, right? With all the lessons he learned that accumulated actually in this design, which is probably the best we can get at this point in time to solve this particular problem.